So we are just scanning the nation, going from conference to conference, looking at the top 5 at every position in every Power 5 conference. We've stopped at the Big 12. We've talked some offense, a little defense. We're back on the defensive side to talk defensive linemen. We got Melissa Triebwasser from Frogs O' War. We also have Hunter Cooke joining us from Viva the Matadors. So, of course, we appreciate you to stopping by. Appreciate the information and the insight. We're going to talk some D-line here. So, Melissa, top 5 in the league. Who do you have here?
Well, number 1, I'll start at the top, and as painful as it is for me to list a Baylor guy first, I'm going to be doing that quite a bit, I think, as we go through the rest of the previews. Shawn Oakman, he's horrifying. Like, he's the kind of guy you see on the street, you probably just turn around the other way. But I think his biggest struggle this year is that he's not going to be able to wear a short jersey. So we'll see if he's just as good with the full-length jersey as he is with the midriff showing. But obviously he's a very proven commodity. He's the guy you game plan against on the defensive line. I think probably the most talked about guy defensively in the conference going into 2015. Number 2, I might have my purple tinted glasses on here, but I'm going to go with Davion Pearson. He's a guy that was a little bit overshadowed the last couple of years out of TCU because we've had so many good guys on the line, but he's a playmaker. He's got a nose for the ball, and he's made some pretty outstanding plays, and with it being his time to shine, I think he's really going to come through in a big way. Number 3, I'm going to go with Emmanuel Ogbah, maybe, out of Oklahoma State, another really good, really solid player with a lot of experience, who actually led the conference in sacks last year. I think he's primed for another really good season at Oklahoma State, and is probably their best defensive player. Going back with a Baylor guy at number 4 in Andrew Billings, just a guy who's just a complete athletic freak, kind of in the middle of their line. He's a space eater, but he's also capable of getting in the offensive backfield and stuffing the run and also getting in the quarterback's face a little bit. And when you pair him with a guy like Oakman, he has a chance to do a lot of damage. And then my number 5, UT's had such a good defense the last couple of years, but seem to have fallen off lately. I think they have a really great guy on the defensive line in Hassan Ridgeway. We'll see with Malcolm Brown gone, a guy who commanded a double team pretty much every single snap, if he puts up the same kind of numbers, but he definitely has the ability to do so in their system this year.
All right, Melissa, good list right there. A couple TCU players, a couple Baylor players. So the hope from the TCU standpoint is that the shortened jersey is going to do the trick. That's going to completely be the kryptonite against Mr. Oakman.
Like Samson with his hair. I think the jersey is gonna bring him back to earth.
Also with Davion Pearson, it's interesting to note leadership ability there. He's a captain for TCU as well. All right, it's interesting also that last night I was talking ACC and we were talking defensive front, and Devontae Fields is now at Louisville, once a TCU Horned Frog, who was, of course, the best in the conference as just a freshman. He was that much of a freak as 2012 freshman defensive player of the year, defensive overall player of the year in the Big 12 that season. All right, Hunter, we've heard from Melissa. Let's hear your top 5.
Well, it's pretty similar. It's got a good top 5 to start off with. I'd actually slot Andrew Billings at number 1 for one sole reason, that he can do every single thing a defensive lineman is supposed to do at a ridiculously high level. As a defensive tackle, he's required to eat space, and when he's done eating space, he has to rush the passer, and he does both of those incredibly, incredibly well. A little bit better, I'd say, than Oakman. Obviously, Oakman, huge pass rush guy. You get him for the big plays, but I think Billings is more of a consistent guy overall. Number 2, I've got to go with Emmanuel Ogbah. Just a great player, really gets after the passer, really broke out last year. 3rd is Oakman. He's a freak. I worry about how the crop top will affect him too, but mostly I'm just wondering when it's going to come out that he's actually a cyborg. He looks much more like a black Terminator than anyone I've ever seen in my entire life, and it terrifies me. I'm scared. Putting on my scarlet glasses as well, I've got to give number 4 to Pete Robertson from Texas Tech. He gets after the passer, and more than anyone else on this list, I feel like he plays with a lot of the hustle, the cliche coach speak, but he really does get after it, really is pursuing. He really gives great pursuit. Number 5, I really didn't see very many defensive linemen that jumped out at me this year. So I reserved space number 5 for a relatively unknown TCU defensive lineman who more than likely will break out and just murder everyone. And if that's your guy, Melissa, then so be it, because it's Gary Patterson. He has something up his sleeve. It's going to happen. Why fight it?
Absolutely.
All right, Hunter, good stuff right there. We have confirmed between the two of you that everybody's afraid of Shawn Oakman. And also, Hunter, you weren't around last week, but Melissa had one of your linebackers in the top 5 at the linebacking position from Texas Tech. You've got Pete Robertson. He had a really nice effort last season. You mentioned the 82 tackles, the 13 sacks, playing in a 4-3 defensive scheme from what I understand coming up this season. So are we expecting better overall defense from Texas Tech this season?
Well, better is a relative term, and it's hard to get worse than what we had last year. So for my personal sanity, I would hope that we are better. But yes, I believe we're going to be much more improved. Our athletes and the type of athletes that they are mixed in with the system that David Gibbs brings in and that kind of mentality, I think that's going to be a lot better for us. Like, we're not going to be pitching shutouts, but hopefully we don't get 82 dropped on us by TCU. So.
Yeah, I had Pete listed as a linebacker, so that's my fault. I love him. He's a great player.
Oh no, he really is. I love him too. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's basically a hybrid. He's listed all over the place. The guy that can come off the edge and kind of get all over the field. Definitely, no question about that. Melissa, I know that you mentioned last time that concern is at linebacker. You mentioned these two studs though up front, defensive front. So you have the two complete possible All-Americans up front. Are you feeling good about at least the defensive front overall?
I think our defensive line has a chance to be one of the top, 2 or 3 in the conference for sure, along with Baylor and we'll see Oklahoma, Texas. They both have the potential. TCU is really going to go 6 or 7 deep on the D line with a lot of experience. We only lost really one key guy, but he was a big key guy in Chucky Hunter. But there are a handful of names that like Hunter was saying are going to pop up and do something great. So I have a lot of confidence in the D-line. I'm fairly confident in the back end of the defense. So I'm hoping we can hide a couple of freshman linebackers in the middle, at least in the early part of the season, until they get their feet under them.
All right, that's Melissa Triebwasser from Frogs O' War, TCU on SB Nation, and also from SB Nation on Viva the Matadors. We've got Hunter Cooke talking up some Big 12 defensive line. Appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Pew, pew, pew.